Hello and welcome to the Vaults of Terra. My name is Ed and today we're going to be continuing after a small hiatus with our Space Marines chapters videos with a look at one of the more requested videos since we started the pause, the Flesh Tearers. Now the Flesh Tearers are a second founding chapter of the Blood Angels and were created after the Horus Heresy. They have a vicious reputation as savage close combat specialists. This is because unfortunately their gene seed has mutated over time, making them much more susceptible to the Black Rage than any of their other brethren who came from the Blood Angels chapter, and their gene seed is now lost or degraded so frequently that if no cure is found for the Black Rage, then the chapter could be extinct in 2 millennia, which is 2,000 years. Now the chapter master is Gabriel Seth, and the homeworld is Cretaceia. And unfortunately at this moment, because of the degradation of their gene seed, they currently stand at only 400 Space Marines strong. That's around 4 companies. Now a little bit of history on the Flesh Tearers. As I mentioned, they were created in the aftermath of the Horus Heresy, with the newly penned Codex Astartes ordering the breakup of the legions into individual chapters. Despite still grieving for their fallen Primarch, the Blood Angels complied with the Codex Astartes and the Flesh Tearers were born. Now their reputation for bloodletting quickly spread in the aftermath of the Horus Heresy, indicating that the extensive flaw in their gene seed may have already been present at the time of their creation, although with the savage nature of the time, it is likely their nature was not really noticed, and if it was noticed it was discounted as merely zeal rather than the flaw that we now know as the Black Rage. The Flesh Tearers spent many thousands of years as a crusading chapter, which meant they had no fixed homeworld, before settling on the extremely hostile jungle death world known as Cretaceia, full of creatures of every size and shape, from minute to almost the size of a scout type, all of which were lethal to human life. There was in fact a lost colony of primordial humans on the planet, whose survival on this world proved they were perfect recruits for the chapter, being pure of any taint and extremely strong, although they were quite primitive and only, after so many thousands of years of being isolated from humanity, having rudimentary language skills. Today the chapter recruits heavily from this world, as their gene seed mutation and Black Rage now claims most of the Flesh Tearers before their 2nd century, which is quite young for a Space Marine, and means that their numbers have to be continually bolstered, otherwise there wouldn't be enough Marines to meet their combat duties. As I've said, they have only 4 full companies of Marines, which is less than half the normal number for a Codex Astartes chapter. If the degradation of their gene seed continues at the same rate, there will be no more than 200 Flesh Tearers Marines within 1,000 years, meaning that, as I said, in 2,000 years there could be no more Flesh Tearers, if of course the Imperium survives that long. Many, including their allies and brother chapters, even chapters who come from the Blood Angels themselves, have questioned both the combat doctrine and the sanity of the Flesh Tearers since their creation, as when they battle, even their allies and innocent citizens can fall beneath their blades in their bloodlust. They have fallen under scrutiny many times by many other organisations within the Imperium, and even the Inquisition watches this loyal but dangerous chapter to try and discover what fuels their bloodlust. Now the organisation of the Flesh Tearers was originally that of a standard Codex chapter, but their savage nature and reduced numbers has geared them more towards an assault force, with a high number of assault squads operating in any fighting force. However, the low number of Marines in the chapter has meant that the Marines of the Flesh Tearers must take on multiple roles, including that of tactical Marines, Devastator Marines, or even drivers of vehicles when they're needed. Specialists like Tech Marines are maintained in the chapter, although their numbers are very low, as most Flesh Tearers would rather study the art of the blade than the art of the machine. Now, the chapter has very few vehicles apart from Rhinos and Razorbacks, although a couple of Whirlwinds and maybe even 1 Baal Predator are available to deploy, but that is far less than many other chapters, although considering the assault nature of the Flesh Tearers, it's probably all they need. And very quickly, the Flesh Tearers' company markings actually mirror those of the Blood Angels, using the same blood drop and skull motifs, although the colours may differ depending on the company. And finally, the chapter fleet of the Flesh Tearers is actually quite small, with only 1 battle barge, the Victus, currently in service. The Victus is actually an ancient vessel, having been in service since possibly the Great Crusade, thus being one of the older battle barges to still be in service, although of course there are similar ones of similar ages, still in Space Marine chapters. They do have 7 modified strike cruisers with an extended transport capacity, a holdover from their days as a crusading fleet. However, nowadays they are so limited in size that it is possible that they could fit most of the chapter on only a few of those ships, with most others acting as close fire support in orbital engagements. So that's everything I wanted to mention on the Flesh Tearers today. The fate of a savage but loyal chapter, whose fate could be the dark future of many of the Blood Angel successor chapters, or even the Blood Angels themselves, and serves as a warning as to what will happen if they do not resist the Black Rage. As I've said, if you have any questions or comments relating to this video or any other element of the Warhammer 40,000 universe, please either leave it in the comments section below, or you can go to the Vox Relay, the Vaults of Terra forums, which has a nice community who are willing to answer many questions relating to Warhammer 40,000 and Vaults of Terra as well. If you have any questions specifically for me, you can send me a private message, or you can contact me through the Vox Relay, and I will be able to answer any questions that you would like to ask myself, or the Vaults of Terra in general. So that's everything I wanted to mention in the video today. See you next time on the Vaults of Terra.